Michael, a wealthy and lonely executive, is captivated by Sarah, the pizza delivery driver. And when he got closer, he couldn't imagine what secret could turn a chance encounter into a life-changing revelation. Before we continue, tell us in the comments where in the world you're watching the video from. And don't forget to subscribe. In the heart of a bustling metropolis, where glass skyscrapers pierced the sky and the streets pulsed with the energy of countless lives intersecting, Michael sat at the long, polished conference table of his company's boardroom. The room was filled with an air of anticipation, punctuated by the soft hum of the air conditioning and the rustle of expensive suits shifting in their seats. As a senior executive at a leading tech firm, Michael was accustomed to high-stakes meetings, where decisions made could ripple through the industry and impact countless lives. Yet, as he observed the faces around him, each one a mask of ambition and determination, he felt a profound sense of disconnection. The meeting commenced with the usual parade of charts and projections, each slide flashing across the screen, detailing profits and forecasts. Michael listened intently as his colleagues presented their ideas, their voices a blend of enthusiasm and urgency. Yet, beneath the polished surface of their discussions, Michael felt an emptiness gnawing at him. His life, filled with luxury and accolades, had become a series of transactions rather than genuine connections. He was a man who had climbed the corporate ladder with relentless ambition, but in the process, he had left behind the warmth of authentic relationships. The accolades and success felt hollow, like trophies in a cabinet that had long lost their shine. As the meeting progressed, Michael's mind drifted. He thought about the lavish parties he attended, the endless string of events that filled his calendar, and the empty conversations that accompanied them. It was a world where smiles were currency and laughter was often manufactured. He felt like a ghost haunting his own life, moving through rooms filled with people yet never truly seen. The weight of his solitude pressed down on him, suffocating in its familiarity. He glanced out the window, watching the bustling streets below, where people rushed by, each lost in their own stories. Meanwhile, in a different part of the city, Sarah maneuvered her way through the crowded streets, her small car laden with boxes of pizza. The fragrant aroma wafted through the open window, mixing with the scents of the city. Fresh rain on pavement, street food sizzling on grills, and the distant sounds of laughter and chatter. A single mother with dreams that stretched beyond the confines of her current life, Sarah had taken on the job of a pizza delivery driver to make ends meet. The late-night hours and unpredictable income were challenges she faced with a determined spirit and an unwavering love for her daughter. As she navigated through the maze of traffic, she reflected on her passion for cooking. In her tiny kitchen, she had transformed simple ingredients into meals that brought joy, not just to her daughter, but also to herself. Cooking was her refuge, a way to express creativity and nurture those around her, even if the world outside often felt unforgiving. Each pizza she delivered was a piece of her heart, a way to share her culinary love with strangers, even if just for a fleeting moment. That night, Sarah was delivering to a lavish party in a penthouse suite. The building towered above the city, its lights twinkling like stars against the night sky. She parked her car and gathered the boxes, making her way to the elevator. As she ascended, the sounds of laughter and clinking glasses drifted down the hall, a stark contrast to her own solitary existence. She had once dreamed of hosting such gatherings, filled with friends and laughter, but life had led her down a different path. When she arrived at the penthouse, the doors swung open to reveal a vibrant scene. Guests mingled, their laughter echoing off the high ceilings and marble floors. Sarah felt a momentary pang of envy as she witnessed their carefree interactions, the way they embraced one another and shared stories. She exchanged pleasantries with the host, setting the pizzas down on a table laden with gourmet delicacies. As she turned to leave, a lingering sense of disconnect followed her, a reminder of the life she yearned for but had yet to embrace. Later that evening, after a long shift, Michael found himself craving a late-night snack. He picked up his phone and scrolled through the list of local restaurants, ultimately landing on the familiar pizza place that had become a staple in his routine. The decision felt almost automatic, a small comfort in the midst of a growing void in his life. He placed the order, requesting his usual, a classic pepperoni, extra cheese, and a side of garlic knots. As he waited, Michael settled into the plush leather couch of his penthouse. The city skyline sprawled out before him like a glittering tapestry. The weight of the day hung heavy on his shoulders as he reflected on the meeting's outcomes, the deals he had secured, and the accolades he had received. Yet, the same emptiness loomed, a persistent reminder that success did not equate to fulfillment. He glanced at the framed photos lining the walls, images of corporate events, award ceremonies, and smiling colleagues. But the faces felt distant, their smiles mere reflections of moments that lacked depth. When the doorbell rang, Michael rose to greet the delivery. He opened the door to find Sarah standing there, a warm smile illuminating her face. The contrast between her genuine warmth and the coldness of his surroundings was striking. She handed him the boxes, her eyes sparkling with a mix of professionalism and friendliness. For a brief moment, the world outside faded away, and Michael felt an unexpected spark of connection. As he took the pizzas from her, he noticed the way her hands moved with a certain grace, the way her laughter seemed to fill the space around them, wrapping him in a comfort he had long forgotten. Her kindness struck him, a reminder of the authenticity he had been missing in his life. In that fleeting moment, amidst the chaos of his corporate existence, Michael experienced something he hadn't felt in years, a sense of being seen, of being present. Sarah turned to leave, but not before casting one last glance over her shoulder, her smile lingering in the air like a promise. Michael closed the door, the weight of his solitude still present, yet somehow lighter than before. He set the pizzas on the table and sat down, but his mind was elsewhere, caught in the warmth of their brief encounter. In a world where he had grown accustomed to the emptiness of his achievements, Michael realized that perhaps, just perhaps, there was more to life than the relentless pursuit of success. A spark had ignited, a flicker of hope that hinted at the possibility of connection and warmth, stirring something deep within him that had long been dormant. As he took his first bite of pizza, the flavors danced on his palate, but it was the memory of Sarah's smile that lingered in his heart, leaving him with a sense of anticipation for what the future might hold. Michael leaned back against the plush leather of his office chair, the city skyline sprawling before him like a glittering sea of ambition and dreams. Yet, amid the towering buildings and bustling streets, he felt like an island unto himself, isolated in a world that celebrated success but seldom fostered connection. The late-night pizza deliveries had become a small solace from his monotonous routine, but they also marked the beginning of an unexpected shift in his life. As days turned into weeks, Michael found himself ordering pizza more frequently than he ever had before. Each time Sarah arrived with a warm box of food, the moment held a subtle magic that pulled him in deeper. Her smile, bright and genuine, illuminated the dreary atmosphere of his high-rise office. It was in those moments, when the two exchanged small pleasantries and shared fleeting glances, that the barriers of their disparate worlds began to dissolve. On one sultry evening, the golden hues of sunset filtered through the glass windows, casting a warm glow in the room as he waited for her arrival. The sound of the doorbell echoed through the spacious penthouse, and a flutter of anticipation surged within him. When he opened the door, the aroma of freshly baked pizza wafted in, mingling with the faint scent of her floral perfume. Sarah stood there, her hair slightly tousled from the wind, holding the pizza box with a casual grace that captivated him. While he paid her, they exchanged stories about their day. Michael spoke of meetings and deadlines, while Sarah shared snippets of her life as a single mother, her laughter punctuating the air as she recounted her son's latest antics. Each conversation drew them closer, and Michael found himself looking forward to these brief encounters, where time seemed to pause just for them. One evening, as they discussed their favorite foods, Michael noticed the way her eyes sparkled with passion when she talked about cooking. It was a stark contrast to the rehearsed responses he was used to hearing in his corporate life. Here was a woman who poured her heart into every dish she crafted, who saw food as an extension of her love for her son and a testament to her creativity. That realization sparked an idea in Michael's mind, one that he couldn't shake off. As the days progressed, he watched Sarah transform from a simple pizza delivery driver into a source of inspiration. Her laughter became the background music of his life, and a sense of warmth filled the void that had long persisted in his heart. He started envisioning a future where they could create something beautiful together, a culinary venture that would showcase her talent to the world. One rainy afternoon, while waiting for her usual delivery, he contemplated the possibility of proposing a business partnership. The droplets danced against the window, mirroring the thoughts swirling in his mind. When Sarah arrived, her cheeks flushed from the chill outside, he felt a surge of courage. "Sarah, I've been thinking about something," he began, his voice steady but laced with excitement. He suggested the idea of starting a food business together, a place where she could showcase her culinary skills beyond the confines of pizza delivery. The prospect of creating a brand that celebrated her passion ignited a spark in her eyes, and he could see the flicker of hope forming as she absorbed his words. In the days that followed, they began to brainstorm ideas, their conversations flowing seamlessly from one topic to another. Sarah's enthusiasm was infectious. It radiated from her as she spoke of her culinary dreams, her voice filled with a blend of excitement and trepidation. Together, they envisioned a small restaurant that would serve not just food, but a story, a narrative of love, family, and the simple joys of life. Michael listened intently as she shared her vision of a cozy eatery where families could gather and share meals that reminded them of home. She painted vivid pictures of vibrant ingredients, aromatic spices, and the laughter of children mingling with the clinking of glasses. With each word, he felt her passion enveloping him, fostering a deep bond that transcended their initial connection. They spent hours discussing recipes, potential menus, and the atmosphere they wanted to create. Michael found himself captivated by her creativity. The way her eyes lit up when she described a dish was mesmerizing. It was as if he was watching her true self unfold before him, layer by layer. He could see the determination etched in her features, and he admired her resilience as she navigated the challenges of being a single mother while pursuing her dreams. At night, they would sit in his kitchen, surrounded by ingredients and cookbooks, as Sarah demonstrated her techniques. Michael marveled at her ability to transform simple components into culinary masterpieces. He was in awe of her talent, and as he watched her move around the kitchen with grace and confidence, he couldn't help but feel a growing admiration for her spirit. There were moments when Sarah would pause, her brow furrowed in thought, as she contemplated the obstacles that lay ahead. But Michael was there, encouraging her, reminding her that they were in this together. He shared his own experiences of overcoming challenges in the corporate world, illustrating that every successful venture came with its share of risks. Their partnership felt like a dance, a beautiful blend of ambition and creativity, and he knew they were building something special. As the weeks turned into months, their bond deepened, woven together by shared dreams and aspirations. The city outside continued its frenetic pace, but inside the walls of Michael's penthouse, a sanctuary of hope and love began to take shape. They found solace in each other, a refuge from the chaos of their individual lives. Michael's heart swelled with pride as he watched Sarah blossom into the confident entrepreneur she was meant to be. He marveled at her ability to juggle motherhood and her burgeoning culinary career. Her son often became a part of their brainstorming sessions, offering innocent insights that sparked laughter and joy. It was during these moments that Michael realized he was falling for her, deeply and irrevocably. Yet, as they stood on the precipice of their dreams, a lingering question hung in the air. Could they truly make this work? The passion they shared was undeniable, but the world outside was harsh and unforgiving. Michael pondered the challenges they would face, the uncertainty that loomed like a shadow over their ambitious plans. But every time Sarah smiled, every time her laughter filled the room, he felt reassured that their love could conquer any obstacle. As they prepared to take their first steps into the culinary world together, Michael couldn't help but feel a sense of optimism. He had been drawn into Sarah's warmth and resilience, and he knew that this journey would not only redefine their lives, but also solidify their bond in ways he had never imagined possible. They were on the brink of something extraordinary, and with each passing day, Michael's hopes for their future grew brighter, illuminating the path ahead. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the bustling city, Michael stood by the food stall he had helped set up. It was a modest structure, adorned with a colorful awning that flapped gently in the evening breeze. The aroma of freshly baked pizzas wafted through the air, mingling with the sounds of laughter and chatter from the nearby tables. Locals had quickly flocked to the stall, drawn not just by the tantalizing scents, but by the warmth and charm that radiated from Sarah as she worked tirelessly behind the counter. Michael watched her from a distance, his heart swelling with a mixture of pride and admiration. Sarah moved with a grace that belied the chaos of the busy stall, her laughter ringing out like music as she engaged with customers. She had transformed the simple idea of a food stall into a vibrant hub of community interaction, where people gathered not just for the food but for the experience she created. Her hands moved deftly as she tossed dough, spread sauce, and layered toppings with an artist's precision. Each pizza she crafted was a testament to her passion, and it warmed Michael's heart to see her in her element. As the evening wore on, the stall became a focal point of the neighborhood. Michael's investment was paying off, but it was Sarah's hard work that was truly driving their success. They had spent countless hours brainstorming, experimenting with recipes, and planning their menu. Together, they had forged a partnership that was as much about love as it was about business. Each moment spent together felt like an adventure, a shared journey toward realizing their dreams. Michael's gaze shifted to the customers lining up, eager to taste the creations that had quickly become the talk of the town. Families gathered, friends shared stories, and laughter echoed around them. It was a scene so different from the sterile boardrooms and high-stakes meetings that filled his days. Here, amidst the energy of the stall, Michael felt a sense of belonging that had eluded him for so long. He was no longer just an executive. He was part of something greater, a community woven together by food and love. As night fell, the stall was illuminated by strings of warm fairy lights that Sarah had insisted on hanging. They twinkled like stars against the darkening sky, creating an inviting atmosphere that beckoned passers-by to stop and indulge in the offerings. Michael stepped closer, offering to help with the last few orders. Sarah's eyes sparkled with appreciation as they worked side by side, their movements synchronized as if they had been doing this for years. In the midst of the busyness, they stole moments for themselves. A quick touch of hands, a shared smile, and the occasional glance that spoke volumes. Each interaction deepened the bond they were forging, a connection that felt rooted in something profound and transformative. Michael found himself enchanted by Sarah's determination, her laughter, and the way she poured her heart into everything she did. She was a force of nature, and he was captivated by her spirit. As the last customer of the night departed with a satisfied grin and a warm pizza box in hand, Sarah leaned against the stall, her chest rising and falling with the exhilaration of the evening. Michael stepped beside her, taking a moment to breathe in the mingling scents of garlic and basil that lingered in the air. The chaos of the night faded into a comfortable silence, and they exchanged a knowing look, both content in the moment. With the stall now quiet, they began to clean up, but the atmosphere between them was electric. Sarah's laughter punctuated the stillness as she recounted a particularly amusing interaction with a customer. Michael listened intently, his heart warmed by the joy she radiated. He admired how she could turn even the most mundane moments into something magical, filling the air with her positivity and light. Later that night, as they sat together on a nearby bench, Michael turned his attention to Sarah, who was gazing at the stars. The conversation flowed easily between them, each word drawing them closer. Michael appreciated the way Sarah spoke about her dreams, her fervent hopes for the future, and the life she envisioned for herself and her daughter. Her passion was infectious, and he found himself dreaming alongside her, imagining the possibilities that lay ahead. But as the night deepened, the conversation took a more serious turn. Sarah's expression shifted, her brow furrowing slightly as she began to share her past. She spoke of the challenges she had faced as a single mother, the struggles of balancing work and parenting, and the sacrifices she had made to provide for her daughter. Her voice trembled slightly as she recounted moments of doubt and fear, the weight of responsibility that often felt unbearable. Michael listened intently, his heart aching for her. He could see the strength in her, the resilience that had carried her through the darkest times. Yet, he also sensed the vulnerability beneath her words, the fear of failure that lingered just below the surface. It was a fear he recognized all too well, one that had haunted him in his own life. He understood the weight of expectations, both external and internal, and how they could suffocate one's dreams. As Sarah spoke, Michael found himself drawn even closer to her. Her honesty and openness only deepened his admiration. He felt a surge of protectiveness toward her, a desire to shield her from the hardships she had endured. In that moment, he knew that his feelings for her had transcended mere attraction. He was falling in love with the entirety of who she was, the mother, the dreamer, the passionate cook, and the resilient woman who had fought so hard for her place in the world. Michael reached out, gently taking her hand in his. It was a simple gesture, but it spoke volumes. In that touch, he conveyed his commitment to support her, to stand by her side as they faced the challenges ahead. He wanted her to know that she was not alone, that together they could navigate the uncertainties of life and business. The warmth of her hand in his felt like a promise of partnership, of love, and of shared dreams. As the stars twinkled overhead, Michael and Sarah sat in comfortable silence, their hands intertwined. The world around them faded away, and in that moment, they were just two souls connected by their shared hopes and dreams. They had embarked on a journey together, and despite the challenges that lay ahead, Michael felt a profound sense of certainty. Together, they would build something beautiful, something that transcended the limitations of their pasts and embraced the possibilities of their future. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting a warm golden hue over the bustling city as Michael and Sarah stood side by side behind their thriving food stall. The aroma of freshly baked pizzas wafted through the air, mingling with the laughter and chatter of satisfied customers enjoying the fruits of their labor. Each slice served was not just a meal but a testament to their hard work, creativity, and the deepening bond that had formed between them. As they exchanged glances, the unspoken connection between them was palpable, a warmth that transcended the chaos of the world around them. Michael looked at Sarah, her face illuminated by the soft light of the setting sun. She moved with grace and enthusiasm, her hands deftly working to prepare the next order while her laughter rang out, infectious and genuine. It was moments like this that made him realize how much he had come to cherish her presence in his life. This was more than just a business partnership. It was a blossoming romance built on mutual respect, shared dreams, and a profound understanding of one another's struggles. As the evening progressed, they found a moment of respite. The crowd had thinned, and they took a brief pause, leaning against the stall as they watched the sun dip below the skyline. The vibrant colors of the sunset mirrored the excitement in their hearts. Together, they had built something beautiful, a small empire that had begun to flourish amidst their respective challenges. Michael felt a rush of pride and gratitude for the way Sarah had welcomed him into her life, allowing him to be a part of her journey. The celebration of their success was not merely about the business. It was an acknowledgement of the milestones they had achieved together. They had transformed a simple idea into a thriving venture, and their connection had deepened as they navigated the complexities of entrepreneurship. Sarah had poured her heart and soul into every recipe, each dish reflecting her passion and dedication. Michael had matched her fervor with his business acumen, ensuring that their efforts were not only appreciated but also profitable. As night fell, they decided to celebrate their achievements with a special dinner. Michael had arranged for a cozy table at a nearby rooftop restaurant that offered a panoramic view of the city. The twinkling lights below mirrored the stars above, creating an enchanting atmosphere. Sarah was radiant, her smile brighter than the city lights. She wore a simple yet elegant dress that flowed gracefully around her, accentuating her natural beauty. Michael couldn't help but admire her. She was not just the woman he had fallen in love with, but also a partner who inspired him daily. The restaurant buzzed with energy, but Michael and Sarah were lost in their own world. As they clinked their glasses of wine, savoring the moment, Michael expressed his hopes for the future. He envisioned expansion, perhaps a food truck or even a small restaurant, a place where they could share their culinary creations with a broader audience. Sarah's eyes sparkled with excitement at the thought. They discussed potential locations and new recipes, their laughter mingling with the soft music playing in the background. As dessert arrived, a decadent chocolate lava cake, Sarah's eyes lit up. She had always been a dessert lover, and Michael had taken note of her preferences. He watched as she took her first bite, her expression one of pure bliss. In that moment, he felt a rush of affection for her, a deep appreciation for the way she embraced life, even amidst its challenges. As they indulged in their sweet treat, Michael reached for Sarah's hand, intertwining his fingers with hers. The warmth of her touch was grounding, a reminder of the journey they had embarked on together. In that intimate moment, surrounded by the noise of the city, they shared their dreams, their fears, and the love that had blossomed between them. However, as the evening wore on, the atmosphere shifted. Michael's phone buzzed insistently on the table, breaking the spell of their romantic evening. He glanced at the screen, his heart sinking as he recognized the caller ID. It was his father, a man he had not spoken to in years, a source of unresolved conflict and deep-seated emotions. The weight of the impending conversation loomed over him, casting a shadow on the joy of the moment. Reluctantly, Michael answered the call, stepping away from the table. The bustling sounds of the restaurant faded into the background as he listened intently. His father's voice was steady but heavy with concern. He spoke of a scandal, one that had the potential to tarnish their family's name and, by extension, Michael's burgeoning business with Sarah. The details were murky, but the implications were clear. This was something serious, something that could unravel everything they had worked so hard to build. Michael's heart raced as he absorbed the information. The news felt like a punch to the gut, a cruel reminder of the past he had tried to leave behind. His father's words echoed in his mind, each syllable a reminder of the family legacy and the expectations that came with it. Torn between his loyalty to his family and his commitment to Sarah, Michael felt the anxiety creep in, gripping him tightly. After the call ended, he stood outside the restaurant, staring out at the city skyline. The lights that had once seemed so inviting now felt distant and cold. He couldn't shake the feeling of dread that settled in his chest. How could he tell Sarah? How could he bring such turmoil into the world they had created together? The thought of facing her again was overwhelming. He didn't want to mar the happiness they had found. The vibrant memories of their celebration played in his mind, a stark contrast to the weight of the revelation he now carried. Michael took a deep breath, trying to steady himself. He knew he had to return to her, to share the truth, but the fear of what that truth could do to their relationship gnawed at him. As he re-entered the restaurant, the warmth of the space enveloped him, but the joy he had felt moments before now felt like a distant memory. Sarah looked up at him, her smile fading slightly as she sensed the shift in his demeanor. He forced a smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. The laughter that had filled the air between them now felt fragile, and he was terrified of what would happen next. The evening continued, but the weight of his father's call loomed large. Michael felt trapped between two worlds, the life he had built with Sarah, filled with love and partnership, and the family legacy that threatened to unravel everything. Each passing moment felt like a countdown to a revelation that could change everything. As they finished their meal, Michael remained silent, his mind racing with thoughts and possibilities. He could see Sarah's concern grow as she searched his face for answers. The vibrant connection they had cultivated now felt heavy with the unspoken truth that hung between them like a dark cloud. When the time finally came to leave, Michael took Sarah's hand, leading her through the restaurant and out into the cool night air. The city buzzed with life, but he felt disconnected from it all, his heart weighed down by the impending storm. In the back of his mind, he knew he couldn't hide the truth forever. The love they had built deserved honesty, but as he glanced at Sarah, he couldn't help but wonder if that honesty would come at too high a price. The city buzzed with the relentless energy of its inhabitants, a cacophony of sirens, laughter, and the distant thrum of music. But within the high-rise walls of his office, Michael felt as if he were trapped in a soundproof chamber. The scandal that erupted like a storm had consumed him, dragging him down into a whirlpool of anxiety and public scrutiny. News outlets had painted him as the villain, a man entangled in a web of deceit, and that narrative threatened to engulf not only his reputation but also the burgeoning business he had built with Sarah. Michael sat at his sleek, glass desk, the sun setting behind the towering skyline, casting a golden hue across the city. He stared blankly at the reports spread before him, each headline a dagger piercing through the fragile veneer of his life. The media frenzy had escalated. They were relentless, each article more sensational than the last. The whispers of scandal grew louder, and the implications were dire. Investors were pulling back, and customers were backing away from the food stall that had once been a beacon of hope. Michael's mind raced, thoughts spiraling as he struggled to envision a way out. In the midst of this chaos, Sarah was a constant presence, but not in the way he had hoped. Her laughter, so infectious and spirited, had been muted by the weight of betrayal she felt. She had always been his anchor, the one person who understood the depths of his ambition and the dreams he had for their culinary venture. But now, the rift between them widened like a chasm, and he could sense the distance growing with every passing moment. Michael watched her from across the room, her brow furrowed in concentration as she prepared the evening meal. The smell of garlic and herbs wafted through the air, a fragrant reminder of the passion that had brought them together. But today, that passion seemed overshadowed by an unspoken tension. He longed to reach out, to bridge the gap, but the consequences of his silence loomed large. How could he explain the family secret that had spiraled out of control? How could he justify keeping such a crucial part of his life hidden from her? As she turned to glance at him, their eyes met briefly before she quickly looked away. That fleeting moment felt like a dagger to his heart. He could see the hurt etched on her features, the confusion swirling in her expressive eyes. Each day that passed without reconciliation felt like a step further away from the love they had nurtured. He missed the way her smile could light up even the darkest of days, and the warmth of her touch that had once felt like home. Now, it was as if they were two ships passing in the night, destined to sail further apart. That evening, as they sat at the small dining table that had witnessed countless shared meals and intimate moments, the silence was deafening. Michael could feel the heavy weight of the unspoken words hovering in the air, threatening to choke him. He wanted to reach across the table, to grasp her hand and assure her that he was still the same man who had believed in her dreams. But the fear of her reaction held him back, a turbulent storm raging within him. Michael's mind wandered to the early days of their venture. He remembered the excitement that had sparkled in Sarah's eyes when they first set up their food stall, the way she had poured her heart into every dish. Each successful day had felt like a triumph, a testament to their partnership and shared vision. Now, that vision was clouded by the shadow of his family's past. The scandal that had erupted was not just a reflection of his actions. It was a dark stain on everything they had built together. Days passed, and the media attention only grew more intense. Michael found himself inundated with calls from reporters seeking comments, each inquiry feeling like an invasion of his private life. He had become a target, a man under siege, and he could see that the strain was beginning to wear on Sarah. The sparkle in her eyes dimmed, replaced by a guarded expression that broke his heart. He longed to protect her from the fallout, to shield her from the chaos that had erupted, but he felt powerless to do so. As the night wore on, Michael made a decision. He would confront the truth, not just for himself, but for Sarah. He needed to share everything. The scandal, the family secret, the weight he had carried alone. He owed her that much. But even as he resolved to speak, doubts crept in. Would she understand? Would she still see him as the man who had inspired her to dream? The next day, he found himself standing in front of their food stall, the heart of their venture. The vibrant colors of the market, the laughter of children, and the aroma of freshly cooked food surrounded him, a stark contrast to the turmoil inside him. He watched as customers hesitated to approach, their eyes flicking to the headlines plastered across newspapers nearby. The stall that had once drawn crowds now felt like a ghost of its former self. As Michael turned to Sarah, who was busy arranging ingredients, he felt the weight of his decision pressing down upon him. The moment had arrived, and he would no longer allow fear to dictate his actions. He approached her, his heart pounding, determination coursing through his veins. He would lay bare the truth, risk it all for the chance to reclaim what they had lost. In that moment, Sarah glanced up, her eyes meeting his. There was a flicker of uncertainty in her gaze, a question of what he was about to say hanging in the air. Michael took a deep breath, feeling the tension crackle around them. He knew that this was the moment that could either shatter them or bring them together. He had to hope for the latter. With every word, he poured out his heart, revealing the secret that had haunted him, the family scandal that had threatened to destroy everything they had worked for. He explained the circumstances, the choices made long before he had met her, and the way it had all come crashing down around them. As he spoke, he watched Sarah's expression shift from confusion to hurt, and finally to a deep sadness that twisted his gut. Michael felt a sense of dread wash over him as he finished. The silence that followed felt like an eternity. The air was thick with emotions left unspoken, and he could see the storm brewing behind Sarah's eyes. She had every right to be angry, to feel betrayed, and he braced himself for the impact of her response. Yet, amidst the turmoil, he also felt a flicker of hope. He had laid everything bare, and now it was up to Sarah to decide their fate. He wanted nothing more than for her to see that his love for her was unwavering, that despite the chaos, he would fight to win her back, to reclaim the bond they had forged through passion and shared dreams. He could only hope that the love they had built together was strong enough to weather this storm. The media storm had reached a fever pitch, and Michael could feel the weight of the world pressing down on his shoulders. The whispers and the flashing cameras outside the small food stall where he and Sarah had built their dreams together served as a constant reminder of the chaos that had erupted from the scandal. It was a surreal experience, watching the headlines morph into sensational stories that twisted the truth at every turn. The once friendly chatter of customers had turned to murmurs of doubt and suspicion, and the vibrant atmosphere that had surrounded their culinary venture dimmed under the shadow of Michael's family name. Determined to take control of the situation, Michael stood resolute outside the stall, a stark contrast to the chaos swirling around him. He adjusted his tie, a habitual gesture that seemed to ground him amidst the storm. The crisp fabric felt foreign against the backdrop of the food stall, a symbol of the corporate world he had long inhabited. Yet, this was not a boardroom. This was personal. This was about Sarah, the heartbeat of their venture and the love that had blossomed against all odds. As the cameras clicked and the reporters shouted questions that pierced through the din, Michael raised his hand, calling for silence. The crowd of journalists hesitated, their curiosity piqued by his sudden authority. With a deep breath, he began to speak, his voice steady, yet laced with an intensity fueled by his love for Sarah. He spoke of their journey, the nights spent dreaming of culinary creations, the laughter shared over flour and sauce, and the struggles they had faced together as partners. He emphasized the hard work that had gone into building their brand, the passion that had fueled their success, and the undeniable bond that had formed between them. In that moment, as he poured his heart out, Michael felt the energy from the crowd shift. The skepticism began to fade, replaced by intrigue and empathy. He spoke passionately about Sarah, her resilience as a single mother, and her extraordinary talent in the kitchen. He defended not just their business, but the woman who had ignited a spark in his life. His words painted a picture of their unity, a testament to the strength that love could provide in the face of adversity. As the final words left his lips, a hush fell over the crowd, broken only by the sound of a camera shutter clicking. Michael had laid bare his heart, revealing the truth not just about the scandal, but about the love that had blossomed in the most unlikely of circumstances. He turned to Sarah, who stood just behind the throng, her eyes wide and glistening with unshed tears. The sincerity in Michael's voice reached her, wrapping around her like a warm embrace. It was a moment of vulnerability, a moment where he sought to bridge the chasm created by his earlier secrecy. In the aftermath of Michael's impassioned defense, the air crackled with tension. As the crowd dispersed, Sarah approached him, her heart racing. The surge of emotions coursing through her was overwhelming. She had watched him fight for their love, for their business, and it filled her with a sense of hope that had been waning during the tumultuous days that followed the scandal's eruption. Yet, beneath that hope lay the remnants of doubt, remnants of the hurt she had felt when he had kept the truth from her. Michael stepped forward, closing the distance between them, the noise of the world around them fading into a blur. He took a deep breath, his eyes locking onto hers. In that moment, he was acutely aware of the gravity of what he needed to say. He reached for her hand, the warmth of her skin grounding him, reminding him of the love they had forged. He confessed his love for her, his voice a mere whisper amidst the chaos. He spoke of the fear that had gripped him, the fear of losing her, of losing the life they had built together. He apologized for the secrecy, for not trusting her with the truth when she had given him her heart so freely. His words were raw and unfiltered, a testament to the depth of his feelings and the recognition of the mistakes he had made. Tears slipped down Sarah's cheeks as she listened, her defenses crumbling. She felt the weight of his sincerity, the anguish that had driven him to hide the truth. In that moment, she understood the complexity of his situation, the burden he had carried alone. As she looked into his eyes, she saw the man who had stood by her side through every challenge, the man who had believed in her when she had struggled to believe in herself. Just as it seemed they were on the precipice of a renewed understanding, a figure emerged from the shadows. Michael's father, whose presence had been a source of tension and conflict, stepped forward with an unexpected air of determination. The crowd had dispersed, leaving a palpable silence in the air as he approached his son. There was a newfound resolve etched into his features, an uncharacteristic vulnerability that caught both Michael and Sarah off guard. Michael's heart raced with anticipation and dread. His father had been the catalyst for much of the turmoil they had faced, but as he stood there, something shifted. The older man spoke, his voice low but steady, revealing that he had been working tirelessly behind the scenes to clear Michael's name. He spoke of the falsehoods that had been propagated by those who sought to undermine their family, and how he had reached out to allies who could help set the record straight. For a moment, time seemed to stand still as the weight of his father's words sank in. Michael's heart raced, and Sarah felt a mix of hope and apprehension wash over her. There was an undeniable tension in the air, a feeling that perhaps the tide was finally turning in their favor. With newfound strength, they stood together, united not only by their love, but also by the possibility of redemption. As Michael and Sarah exchanged glances, a sense of understanding passed between them. They had fought through the darkness together, and now, with the prospect of a brighter future on the horizon, they felt emboldened. Together, they embraced, a powerful symbol of resilience and unwavering love. The world outside might still be fraught with challenges, but in that moment, they were ready to face whatever came next, side by side, with their hearts intertwined, standing stronger than ever against the storm.